What's up nerds? It's time to update the military items video. Not only did we get a new outfit that fits the bill, but we also had forgotten something last time we made the video. Just a reminder, we are skipping the items that are specifically related to other factions, like Brotherhood of Steel has a lot of military looking items, Enclave too, but because we have separate videos for those, we'll not be including them here. But anyway, timestamps below if you want to skip to anything in particular. Otherwise, let's go. Let's start out with some junk / miscellaneous / camp items. First, you can get the Army Training graduation papers from Grafton Pawn Shop upstairs below the green conspiracy board here. It's just a document, but you can display it, and it is pretty cool to see the Army logo on there. Likewise, there is a soldier certificate which you get from finishing the Back to Basics main quest. It is nice to have to read, but when you display it, you can't read any of it. Speaking of not really being able to show it off, the military ID. I could have sworn you could display this before, but if you look now, military ID doesn't even show in your inventory unless you look under your keyring, and hence you can't display it, which means you can't show it off. That said, it is a pretty cool item to have for role-playing on your own, because you can't really show it off. There's also dog tags, which can be found in a ton of different places, but coming here to the Brotherhood graveyard near Huntersville right here, you can find at least one and sometimes two. And though you can't wear them and you're just counting as junk, you can display them, so I think it's pretty neat. There's also the military ammo bag, which is mostly junk, but you can't display it if you really want to, but you can find it in a lot of places. Specifically, Camp McClintock has quite a few of them, and a few are in Fort Defiance. There is also the Red Star pin, which is somewhat of a rare drop from killing liberators, and it is just a Red Star pin just to be displayed, but still kinda cool, like a trophy for the commies you know. There's also the military cot, which you can get from the Brotherhood vendor in White Springs or Grom, or the vendor bought Phoenix at Watoga Shopping Plaza. And it's honestly very standard looking, but I guess that's what military beds look like. Then there's the Communism Posters. There are 7 variants, but 2 different kinds of frames for each. You can get them in the form of a single plan for everything from these vendors. A bit on the pricier side, you can also get the military Cryo freezer from Mortimer for 1,250 gold bullion. And this one is actually functional. You can store your food in this and it will stop it from spoiling, as long as your camp with this is active. The moment this camp is made inactive, all of those foods that you put in there will be in your stash and spoiling at a normal rate. Regardless, it is a good item to have, even if you aren't making a military themed camp. With those out of the way, let's talk about weapons. And there isn't much here, but there is the Ripper, which you can get from practically anywhere that can drop a melee weapon, and the plans from treasure maps or containers in the Ash Heap, the Mire, and the Cranberry Bog. And you can see that it does have this military marking on there, which is pretty neat. From Public Event Dangerous Pastimes, we can get the Red Terror, a unique light machine gun, which is sorta like 2-in-1 because it does have 2 skins on it. One red and one green, and you can switch around at your heart's content. It looks neat, I guess, if you are feeling particularly comrade-y. Otherwise, it is also a decent weapon. The Old Guard's 10mm SMG is a unique 10mm SMG, acquired by completing Duty Call's main quest. It doesn't look any different, but it does come with an anti-armor legendary perk already on it. You can mod it with 10mm SMG mods, but you can't put any legendary effects on it. In Neurological Warfare, we can get the Anchorage Ace. It does have two skins, but only this white skin is military, the other one is just vault related. It's not my favorite weapon, but it is a really good 10mm SMG as far as those go. There's also the Camo Backpack, which you can get from the Mo Miner Pails during the Treasure Hunter seasonal event. Simple looking, but neat and great for roleplay. Speaking of camo, there's also a very rare and sought after forest camo jumpsuit, which can be very rarely dropped from events and dailies in the forest region. You have no idea how many events in the forest region I have done solely for this item, but alas, I never got it. There are a lot of outfits that you can get though. The easiest to get is probably the Dirty Army helmet and the Dirty Army fatigues, which you can get from the uniform dispenser as part of the Back to Basic main quest. Then there's a clean version of the army helmet and the fatigues. Clean version of the fatigues you can get as part of the Back to Basic quest, and sometimes from the Forbidden Knowledge quest, in which you hand in tech data to the Brotherhood of Steel. The helmet you can get from several different places, but I like to come here on this campsite near Devil's Backbone. And there are 3 clean army helmets and 1 campaign hat. Since I already mentioned this, you can also get the campaign hat, which you can get in the same campsite near Devil's Backbone. Then there's the military cap, which you can get from the Philippi Battlefield Cemetery. Just come to this monument here and you should be right there. This goes well with a lot of different outfits. But while in the cemetery, you can also go into the building there and open the displays with these buttons on the walls to get access to various Civil War outfits and weapons, including the Confederate uniform, and the Union uniform. The Union uniform does get a backpack of its own, which is pretty neat. To finish those outfits though, you do need the hats for each. For the Union hat, come to the Hopewell Cave here and go up the cliff. There's a small cemetery there, and on one of the graves is the Union hat. Unfortunately, the Confederate hat is only available in the form of a plan that you can get from mutated packs. Hence, it is a little harder to track down. That said, I do have one and can craft them if anyone playing on PC needs it. Speaking of being a little harder to track down, the Communist Commander outfit and hat can be individually dropped from holiday gifts during the Holiday Scorch seasonal event. That said, they don't drop as a plan, they do drop as individual apparels, so they definitely are a little harder to track down. Okay, so for this you do need to have started the Milepost 0 stuff, hired Inika for 150 supplies, upgraded her to tier 2 for 250 supplies, and then once again to tier 3 for 500 supplies. That's 900 supplies by yourself or 18 large cargo runs. Once that is done, she will sell the plans for the red coat uniform and the red coat uniform hat. And yes, you can definitely see that this isn't completely historical uniform like the Union and the Confederate, but that it has been modified a little bit with pieces of metal armor in there, but I still think it fits the bill. Pretty cool looking, and you could do some interesting RP with this. Now, onto actual armors. There's also military fatigues, which is an under armor. It also drops from a lot of different places, but here in Sugar Grove, in this shelf, it can either be this military fatigues or the Dirty Army fatigue. Same here on Camp McClintock Barracks, it can either be the military fatigue or the Dirty Army fatigue.
There's also the Marine Wetsuit, which is also an Under Armour, which has a matching Marine tactical helmet. The plant for each can spawn practically anywhere that spawns armor plants in the mire and the cranberry bog. Easiest place to farm for them would probably be Harper's Ferry, in the house with a lot of display cases. Otherwise, the items themselves can have a 3% chance to drop from the Mirelurk Queen.
There's the Chinese stealth armor and helmet, which you can get from the main mission Invisible Ties. But if you skipped on this mission while siding with the raiders, once you finish the Wastelanders questline, you can buy the plans from Samuel at Foundation for 4,000 gold bullions, and sometimes from Minerva at a cheaper price. Of course, there's also the plain old combat armor, which you can practically get anywhere, and in its bare form, it is green and sports the white army star on the chest. And it of course has 3 different variants, being light, medium, and heavy.
Better looking than the combat armor, there's the marine armor and helmet. The plans can drop from practically anywhere that drops armor plans in the mire and the cranberry bog. They can easily be farmed in the Harper's Ferry like the wetsuit. The helmet, however, can only be gotten either from other players or crafting it yourself, with the plan only dropping from Mole Miner Pails from the Treasure Hunter seasonal event. Speaking of marine armor though, there's also an improved version of it called the Arctic Marine Armor and Helmet. The plans for these can be obtained either from Daily Ops or Minerva for gold bullions. They are considered fairly rare and cannot be traded or dropped. Now, this next few items, to be completely honest, I was gonna leave them out because I don't think they're military, but seeing as the Arctic Marine Armor does have a blue camo on it, and I like matching things, I guess I will have to show you the other blue camo stuff. So, there are 2 weapon skins. One is the 44 blue camo paint, which of course goes on the 44, and you can get this from the holiday gifts from the Holiday Scorch seasonal event.
On the Treasure Hunt seasonal event, you can get the blue camo laser gun. This too can only be applied to the normal laser gun and not the Ultra Sight one. I like the look of this one quite a bit, but also unsellable and undroppable.
Not only that, but you can also get the blue camo power armor paint, which is now also a part of the loot pool for the holiday gifts from the Holiday Scorch seasonal event. This is a paint set and it can be applied to several power armors, being the Excavator, the T-45, the T-51, the T-60, the Ultrasight, and the XO1.
And finally, there's the XO1 military paint, only for the XO1 of course. You can buy this at the Enclave bunker for very cheap actually. Despite the price, it does look great.
But that is it. Every free-to-play military item available in Fallout 76 so far. It's not often that we get more stuff in this category, so not too sure when we'll be updating this again. But still, pretty cool to see some of the historical uniform, even if the red coat one is modified a little bit. Anyway, what should I collect next? It can be anything from any game as long as I think it's cool. Tell me in the comments down below. Otherwise, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to see more collection videos like this, and of course, always nerd on.